Thank you. Right.
Okay, so thank you everyone.
Super secret. I don't even know.
It is super secret.
Okay, thank you.
Some people also call it job security. Thanks, Dr. Henry. Thank you, everyone. And we won't feel offended if you leave, but please do feel free to stay. We'll be voting on a bunch of things as well. We'll go to item number 7, community input on agenda items. You guys have read the agenda. Public may comment on items listed on the agenda, including consent calendar, presentation, discussion, committee, and action items. Do we have any community input on agenda items?
Not on agenda.
Okay, so then we will move on to item number 8, items for consent. We have 4 items on the agenda for consent. Minutes from the regular meeting of the OPA Board of Directors on March 23rd, 2023, and the special board meetings of the OPA Board of Directors on March 30th, 2023, and April 15th, 2023. Item number B, South Orange County Honor Society donation of $3,000, thank you, designated for field trips. MOU with Biola University for counseling internship, and D, personal report as listed in the tables below. Recommended that the Board of Directors approve consent items A through D.
I make a motion to approve consent items A through D.
Thank you, May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll go to item number 9, items for presentations. We'll start with the school update from.
And the interpretive team.
You would do it.
I know.
All right. Yeah, good evening. Welcome to all of our parents and then our wonderful board of directors. So I am here today with Connor Matthews. He is our ASB vice president. So he's going to be doing actually this entire board update for you. There's been a lot of things going on at SSC, but we wanted to keep it short and sweet. So we're just going to kind of highlight some of the big things that's been going on. First up.
OPA associate students participated in a 3-day of majors this past week. This supported the support and commitment of our school-wide academic program intended to tap into the wide variety of interests, higher abilities and talents of our students, and encourage all children to utilize a number of higher level thinking skills. This is a series of elective courses focused on the central theme that all first through 8th grade students take periodically throughout the year. The courses are designed to enhance each of the intelligences which every student possesses. This academic course study includes opportunities for children to create, classify, imagine, first select, and create or evaluate learning situations. Some of the courses offer this trimester include readers theater, dance 101, soccer, puzzles and board games, coding, Lego, robotics, skateboarding mania, film studies, fashion design, and more. Okay, cool. Washington, D.C. was an extremely fun and amazing experience. We went to many cool places throughout the 5 days we were touring around. On Monday, we toured Monticello, and after that, there was a Civil War Union troop in Hamlin Park. The next day, we went to Jamestown Settlement Park and toured Colonial Windsor to experience what life was like hundreds of years ago in Virginia. On the 3rd day, we took a trip to Yorktown Museum of American History and walked around a recreation of the Civil War campaign. Then we took a few-hour bus ride up to the DC area, stopping at Fort Washington's Mount Vernon along the way. Once in DC, we went to Lincoln Memorial and the Vietnam Memorial in Paris. That's one of the greatest presidents in history and the fallen soldiers of the Vietnam War. Friday was my 3rd day. We first walked around the Arlington National Cemetery, and I had the amazing opportunity to witness the changing of the guards and participate in the laying and reading ceremony at the tomb of the unknown soldier. This tomb is to honor the U.S. soldiers lost in combat and whose bodies were never recovered. After this, we made our way to the Pentagon 9/11 and then the U.S. Capitol. Then going to the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History, the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial, the Martin Luther King Memorial, and the U.S. Marine Corps. Finally, on the last day, we toured the African American Museum and the National Archives to see the original Constitutional Declaration, the original Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence. And either day, the park is the Air and Space Museum. This trip was one I'll never forget, and I'd like to thank everyone who supported. I highly recommend this trip to be offered to the future experts.
It was busy.
Thanks. It was a lot going on. Miss Focus kindergarten class had a blast playing sight word music chairs. Students got the opportunity to participate in reading sight words in a fun, competitive, and hands-on way. Students danced around the circle as the music played and quickly ran to find and share the music songs. A student is then called to read the word and must read the word correctly in order to stay in the game. One of the reasons we love this game so much is being able to touch upon so many allies as musical, bodily kinesthetic, interpersonal, and linguistic. This is a classroom favorite and one activity that kids look forward to an active life all the time. Our TK through 8th grade champions were honored last week at their second trimester award ceremony. But family and friends were able to attend in person to our via Zoom to watch each ceremony. Students were able to earn academic awards such as the Chancellor List and Dean's List, and also our Champ Awards, which focus on recognizing students who set an example on campus by being compassionate, honest, accountable, mindful, and prepared. During this trimester, we also had Mr. join us to acknowledge our school mascot and today contest winners. We had students in grades 5, 5th, 6th, and 7th receive special recognition as well as lunch with Mr. Burley.
Which, it's okay, you're not going. You haven't had that much face-to-face time with Mr. Berkeley. All right, and then one of my favorites.
Yes. Welcome to the Living Museum. Our third grade champions have been hard work to study all the lives and contributions of historical figures throughout the world. This week, they're able to showcase all they have learned with the Living Museum in each classroom, dressed up like their historical figure, delivers a speech, displays their artifact, and a poster about in their own. In addition, students created their own Instagram about their character with what showcased important snapshots from their life. In addition, they drew their caricature and included their photo map describing the year.
That was a new addition this year, and I knew Dr. Henry would be very proud to see the bubble map and thinking about.
Totally.
Yeah. All right, 6th grade. Okay.
Last week, 2 of our 6th grade classes participated in their walk. This is an annual activity that takes place for students in grades 4th through 6th, where students are able to make history come alive as they participate in different historical events. The 6th grade students walk through an ancient world as members of ancient Egypt, Rome, and Greece. Students acted out their historical characters, wrote and participated in a skit about the daily life of their civilization, and even had a chance to mummify some of their classmates with photos. The class had a blast and were able to review civilizations that had already been studied, discuss their current content, and preview the next civilization. It was also a great opportunity for parents to come to campus and watch their champions interact with their classmates and learn our second group of 6th grade classes. Our second group of 6th grade classes and can't wait to get their turn next week.
All right, and last but not least, our 5th graders.
Students and staff had a fantastic time at ROs. They had an opportunity to learn through hands-on experiences and methods, including chemical and physical reactions, gravity, and astronomy. Students were challenged with team building activities on the lower course, taught new skills in archery, and explore the farm. Where there were different types of compost and delicious fruits to try on the trip. The highlights for teachers and students was the 4-person zip line that pushed individuals to overcome fears. Last night, all parents enjoyed a campfire with skits, songs, and songs.
So next up, so that was just a little snapshot of everything we've been doing. It was kind of a walk down memory lane with Connor as being one of our students who's been here since kindergarten. So he's been able to experience almost all of those things with the exception of the new 5th grade camp, which we teach it throughout his time here at OPA. We're kind of winding up on the last year and a half. So some of the things that all of our kiddos are going to be participating in coming up, we have the CAS, which is going to be our state testing happening mid-May. We are also in the middle of our biggest fundraiser of the school year, which is our golf tournament hosted by Honor Society and Randy Matthews. And wanted to extend the invitation to all of the board members if you guys would like to attend at cost price. Just reach out to Randy and we would love to see you guys there. We've got International Week coming up at the end of May going into June. We're going to have our second set of majors going on. And then of course, kind of wrapping up the year with our SOC showcase, which is our BAPA and night as well. So lots of things going on. That's all we have for you. Thank you very much. Any questions? Well, you look at pictures, you're not gonna know exactly what all that is.
No, you did.
Okay, thank you, everyone. For item number B, middle school update, Mr. Brittley.
You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
President, board members, Dr. Bernard.
Gotta cut that out. Please.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was-
That one, you know, there's money, that's what. Yeah.
But you gotta say that to all four of them.
Just the thing on the side.
put the thing on the side.
Yeah.
Uh, My report this evening will be somewhat brief, but I wanted to share some good news with you. First of all, I had the absolute joy of presenting certificates of achievement, pardon me, to our winners of the mascot essay contest. I think. There were 9 students whose mascots were selected to move forward and were placed on the ballot. Up there in red, you can see 6th grade winner Ahura Kareem. His mascot, the Eagles, was actually the one selected. But 5th grade winners, we had Ava Datseva, Emma English, Khalid Bakro, and then 6th grade, Melly Garabi, and that's, I believe, her in the picture with us. As I said, Ahura Kareem, Hannah C. And then 7th grade, we had Logan Bailey, illustrator, and Olivia Swiner. Kids did an amazing job. As a former English teacher, I was truly impressed with their writing skills. Middle school staffing update. We are moving forward and we have already held preliminary interviews for our dean position. There were 2 panels. There was a technical panel and an interpersonal panel. The candidates were very strong and the one selected for will be there this Thursday. So it's very exciting. I've worked with Dr. Kernan, Dr. Henry. We looked at all the staffing and we've established which teachers from SOC and SU will be joining us at middle school. They will be informed next week. And we've also flown several positions for the school that we knew that we would need. And we're hoping to book these interviews within the next couple of weeks. So what's next? There's a lot next, more than I could possibly put in this presentation. But we have our lottery on April 20th. Of course, our students who applied in the 5th or 7th grades that are presently on our campuses will move forward and be part of the new middle school. And then we will also fill any available spots with new applicants. We have a middle school town hall number 4 coming up in May. We haven't decided on the date yet. But we'll be sharing the location of the campus. We'll be answering any of your own questions. And I think it'll be a lot of fun because much of the time will be spent fielding all these questions that still remain. We will be working to hold student registration, and I'm going to be working with Dr. Kernon. We're going to probably do this through areas. A little bit in the same fashion that middle schools and high schools do their online registration. So
For
information.
picking their classes, their electives, signing up their world language, they'll get to go in, we'll send out, kind of like we've done in the past, send out little explanations of what those different electives are gonna look like. We will have a lot more choices this year. And then they'll actually go into their portal hopefully and select their classes right through the Aries portal. So make them feel much more grown up, like they're selecting college classes.
This is big time. So that's exciting. We have a luncheon coming up in May with the.
Where are you guys going?
Oh,
Chick-fil-A, please don't say Chick-fil-A, but I'm sure the kids will love.
He's offering to buy.
Yeah, why not?
I'm a middle school chancellor. We go top shelf. We're gonna see. I'm going to kind of survey the kids and see. what they
Okay,
like.
excellent, excellent.
We are-
Yeah.
If you remind me, I'll pay you.
Well, if you are, yeah, otherwise it's on me.
With my board president's salary, I'll pay for it.
We will be working to develop our master schedule in May, hopefully be finished by the end of May. And we will continue to plan and prepare for the opening. There are 1,000,001 little things to do, but they're already happening, so it's gonna come quick. And that's all I have.
Any questions from the board?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for engaging with the kids in both campuses. I think, for them to get to know you and be able to pronounce your name and put a name to a face, I think it's very important. So I'm glad you're doing it. And, especially with these essay contests across campuses, I think they get to meet each other as well, right? And then, the luncheon, hopefully you'll get to speak to them. So. Great job.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good thing about Mr. Reed.
I had to learn how to pronounce it. So I don't feel bad about it. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but then he's not my chancellor, so. Go ahead, sir. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if you see.
I jumped the gun. Okay. So I didn't get the tutorial here.
Turn the power on.
Why am I putting it off? Okay, I'll leave mine on for the next person. Right, David?
Yes, please.
So, haven't shared a lot of the lessons lately. Our chancellors have been doing such a great job of that. And there's been other things to share, but I did want to share this one project I thought was fantastic. It was a human body research project that our 6th grade students completed. They were studying the metabolism, science unit, and then teams picked different human body systems, such as the nervous system, cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, and did 3D models as well as research and write-ups and other academic pieces. And I believe the one that you can see that's all the way on the right, the students have that digestive system where you could put a marble down and it would physically go through the digestive system. So those were fantastic projects. I was super excited to see them. Also wanted to share a professional learning update. So right now, as the chancellor said, we're really working on past preparation. We had what we call the past 101 with our teachers, showing them different tools that they can use to prepare their students. And then not this Friday, but the next Friday, we'll do a pretty technical training, how to deliver the test for our professors. Our focus groups finished up this last Friday. Super excited. We had focus groups at each site. So 2 of each of these for GATE, MTSS, which is our multi-tier system of supports, PBIS, which is our behavior systems, a safety committee, OPA traditions, parent involvement, as well as our virtual learning teachers had their own focus group. And I have to say the feedback and the work that our professors have done has been really exciting. I can give so many examples. Our GATE focus group, one of our schools was really focused on teacher supports for gifted students. And the other ones came up with a newsletter that's being sent out quarterly to the parents of our gifted students. In our MTSS, our teachers, we usually will combine both sites for that one because it is a big topic. They found gaps in our assessment system for early reading. They came up with a plan for that for next year. Our PBIS teams have started and implemented a wonderful check-in, check-out behavior system. And it's tier 2. It's for students who might need a little more support. It is positive in nature. So they're assigned, let's say, to a teacher that they already have a connection with, or it could be Ms. Velez is nodding over here. And basically they check in the morning, and a caring adult talks about, okay, what strategies can you use today, gets them off the right foot. And then at the end of the day, they get kind of check boxes or ratings from their teachers and talk about the behavior, but it's not meant to be punitive. It's meant to support students who need that little bit of extra support. Fantastic. Our safety committee really reviewed our safety plans, looking at OPA traditions. They've done a lot of work with majors and all these other things you see coming back is going through the focus groups. And then even our virtual learning program, they came up with their own CASP virtual learning schedule, and they planned a lot of meetups for the virtual learning students to be able to meet up in person and have that extra kind of connection. I also wanted to share, so this is a professional learning piece called The Science of Reading, and that we have 16 professors who have who will be participating in the California Department of Education Science of Reading Academy this summer. They volunteer, and it's 21 hours, as well as extra projects that they committed to do. We will be paying them hourly, and we're paying for resources for their training as well. But they volunteered to do this, and we'll be learning a lot about the science of reading. I wanted us to have a slide on this. I'm by no means an expert on the science of reading, and I'm going to go quickly through this, but it's really important that the board understands, and also our community, that the language around reading and the way we teach reading is changing. So, and they're calling it SOR, or the science of reading. So those of you that, well, I've been around a while. So it used to be phonics, right, was the way to go. And then there was a big swing to the whole language approach to teach reading. And then there was a swing back more to balanced literacy. And now it's the science of reading. And actually these slides on the bottom were done by a teacher. Our teachers are on fire with this, for lack of a better word. I am trying to keep up with them. So they are super excited. That's why when we found the professional development, the academy, they all signed up. But we also have teachers who are watching podcasts and sharing them out, and they're really excited because they are such professionals and they learn their research to do things a better way. They are becoming experts themselves. So one of our teachers, I said, I really want to better understand this to support you. So we brought a few people together, and what I learned is the science of reading is really learning what parts of the brain are utilized for different types of reading, and then doing different kind of skills. So you can see some of those different slides on the bottom that are one of our own professors created through her own research, just to help so that we all understand. It's really exciting. That's all I have to say about it right now, because there's a lot more to come. Oh, I also wanted to add this. This is also, California has adopted this as going to be the new way to teach reading. It's a year or two out.
So we're ahead of it.
But we're ahead of the curve. Yes, and our teachers are even ahead of the curve. Again, they're trying to help me catch up. Wanted to revisit the capstone projects a little bit. So we know we have our champion profile, which is our 6 C's. So that was implemented last year with the soft rollout. This year is our first year doing our capstone projects and a digital portfolio that will follow students from the time they're in OPA until they leave us in 8th grade. And so this was our first year doing that, and we had our first submissions in March of the capstone projects. And what they include is evidence that our students are learning the 6 C's. Communication, critical thinking, collaboration. I could go through all of them. They're right there in the corner as well. And also reflection on their learning. The reflective piece is probably the most important. So they're uploading. I went through the 8th grade ones today, just to kind of prepare for this presentation. And I saw pictures. I have some of them here of they're doing. It's all about student choice. So they are choosing projects and things that they do during their time here, where they implement the 6 C's. So you can see even bringing back the TV station, and then they reflect upon how that helped them to collaborate and to communicate, or whatever choose 6 of the 6 that they want to share. We had one of our students wrote about being a big buddy and reading to the little kids. So it's really, it can be any project, but they have to show evidence and then reflect upon their learning. And our first entries are in March, the second ones are in June, and then at our back of STEAM night, which are in June at each school, our 8th graders will be presenting and be available to share out their capstone projects with our families. So it really is about showcasing their learning as well. Very excited. I have okay. I wanted to share some other good news about our Pathway to Civic Learning Award. So in 2021, the California Department of Ed implemented the Seal of Civic Learning for high school students. They always had the intent that elementary and middle school students would eventually have a pathway award to earning that seal on the high school diploma. So this was the first year of implementation, but we knew this was coming. So last year, our professors intentionally started looking at their curriculum and projects, and we had them kind of put things on a spreadsheet. So we had an idea of what civic learning projects were already happening. And so this year, with the things and a lot of help from our chancellors, as well as our 5th and 8th grade teachers, they really did a lot of work on this. We had 268 5th and 8th graders that will be getting this award. So we put the order in to California Department of Education. We're just waiting back for those official certificates. So that's 89% of our 5th and 8th grade students. So really, really exciting.
In the first year.
And this is the first year. I can't wait to see how many other schools did this, because I know when the high school one came out, I was really involved with that, and not a lot of schools took advantage. So I think with those numbers, we're going to get some recognition. In fact, we already are. We will be recognized at Orange County Department of Education on the 27th for their big civic learning celebration. I know I'll be attending. We're going to ask some of our teachers to attend, as well as maybe some students as well. Did you have a question?
So are we fifth? So there's 6th, 7th, and 8th that are also receiving this award, or is it
No,
just 5th and 8th?
so yeah, they have it at the end of different grade bands.
Okay, got it.
In the future, we could possibly add a 2nd grade, but they have standards, so it's K through. So the award really does capture their whole middle school.
Right, got it.
Right, and the projects can come from any time, but since this is our first year, they were done this year. And then finally, our parent ambassadors, I already went through these slides, and we were able to introduce them. So that is all I have. Any questions?
I think the civic award that you mentioned, I think the trick is that you found a way to track all the work and the projects. I think that's the trickiest part, right? And so you guys found a easy way that we were able to find 89% of the kids doing it. So kudos to you guys. I think that's the trickiest part, right? Because we do a lot of things as part of our studying and our, but then how do you keep track of it? So kudos
Right,
to
and it was their grades in social studies, their citizenship marks as well, because they have to prove to be good citizens, as well as doing a project that really reflects real life issue and student voice. So the tracking is also with the parent ambassadors as well, as we mentioned, like it's the trick for a lot of things. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I left.
Item number D, operations update, Mr. Bali.
All right, just a couple slides, very brief. For April, this month, and we had, of course, one month of spring break. We're working on purchasing the remainder of the furniture for SOC and SB. We'll be moving some of the furniture to the new middle school. We had a rep who was here from our furniture company last week. I'd like to thank Ms. Les, her team, as well as Mr. Wright and the police team for the work, and we'll be ready to bring it to the board for approval in an upcoming board meeting. Okay, so there's spring and summer. I think we've got a great plan to get that done. Okay, make sure everybody has the furniture. Kitchen equipment, SOC, we did purchase a new refrigerator for the teachers lounge and also a new freezer, which had broken down, both of them broke down just recently when the words were carried. So they're happy with that. I hear, and then Unwarmer through some of our grant funding that we got at SB, same thing that Unwarmer delivered in May. Our PE equipment we've been working with for basketball hoops and poles for SB. They have a meeting tomorrow night, so we're working with Mr. Wright. They're supporting that through funding, and then send the update of the garden irrigation here at SB. As well, and then we were paying the middle school. That's our big job right now. Okay, and then IT, I want to thank Jonathan so much for spearheading this effort, which started today at both campuses. It's what the board approved in the last meeting. Access control for the front office, intercom, remote access, and we'll be getting up to go answer the door, which I know the office staff will appreciate very much. And new badging cameras, iPads, so we really upgraded our security and how it's going to flow. And then Raptor, which was our office, is working on that. We're adding the emergency management meeting about that today. So thank everybody for your support in operations. Any questions?
Take a cookie.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number E, finance update. So, member Agarwal and Ms. Bali.
So, we reviewed our finances on Friday of last week, the 14th, and we went over the check register. I know we have some questions about that, but we also wanted to point out, you're going to see some negative numbers in the forecast, but there's money in the bank to cover all of that. So she's going to go over that, but I just wanted to give you a quick heads up. Thank you.
All right, so here we have the summary income statement for both campuses. The first column is your actual year to date, July 1 through February 28. Your second column to the right is the second interim budget, which was 4% the last board meeting, and then just the difference with numbers and percentages. So as you can see for Saddleback Valley, we have currently we're operating at a $685,000 deficit. We do plan to finish the year at a $352,000 deficit. And for SOC, we have a current negative operating income of $500,000, but expect to finish the year at a positive $405,000. And so, as you can see, both school sites for the moment through February, they are operating at a negative income, which is primarily due to just timing of revenue and when we receive that revenue. However, SB, as member Agarwal mentioned, SB does have enough cash and reserves to plan for this 351 negative income and as a one-time exception as well for the current school year. At the second internal presentation last month, we did present multi-year projections, and included in that were also future positive operating incomes for SB. SOC is still projected to end the year at a positive $405,000 net income, and both sides are expected to end the fiscal year as we are projecting for the second interim level quarter. So next, I would like to
go into kind of like a teaching moment for our board members here in our community. You know, if not aware of how our principal apportionment gets calculated with the state of California. So the principal apportionment includes funding for LCFF and other funding for just other federal programs. So we're gonna focus on LCFF for now. So the advance apportionment is certified by July 20th and it's based on prior year fiscal funding ADA. So ADA is average daily attendance. And this establishes our monthly state aid payment from July through January. So if you look at the chart here from July through January, we are being paid prior year's ADA or prior year's funding. And for July, we get 5% of that money. August 5%, and then from September through January, we get 9% of that. So it's a very kind of straightforward mathematical calculation of the money that we are in the months of July through January. So then we have the first principal apportionment, which we call P1. And this is certified by the state February 20th. And it's the first set of attendance data that we report to California Department of Education. P1 will now supersede the advanced principal apportionment and establishes a new monthly state aid payment for the months of February through May. And that's kind of like, if you look at the chart now, we have whatever is now the balance, or the difference due between P1 and what was already paid for in January. So basically, it's 20% of what is due, and that is what's paid for in the months of February through May. So after P1, you have the second principal apportionment, and this is then certified by the state by June 25th. And this is the second set of attendance data that is reported to the Department of California Education. And by P1, P2 will now supersede P1. And this is now the final state aid payment for the fiscal year ending in June. So that's a very quick kind of picture of how we get paid for the state, specifically LCFF funding. And there are some annual apportionments that the last paragraph said too, right? So currently, February 20th, that was just certified for prior years. We're looking at 2021, that was certified during this annual apportionment. And then there are further certifications called R1, R2, R3 in case, you know, there's some extreme kind of scenario changes to our attendance data that previously. So I'm going to link there. You guys want to take a look at it.
Shana, can you remind us what proportion of our total revenue comes from this funding? About 50%? Is it 70%? Roughly, small.
So I would say it's about. I would say about 40%. 40%. Our envelope property tax is what we get more of, where the opposite of school districts, your traditional school district, it's the LCFF funding.
Yeah.
The higher.
I mean, that shows like, you know, by January, we've spent more than half of our costs that we've incurred. But we only received like 55% of what we supposed to be incurred. So that's the reason why we had this interim negative, right? Yeah, thank you for that.
Next, we will get into then the revenues, and specifically, I'm going to focus on just revenues specifically for the month of February. On this slide and the next slide, I'll focus on expenses for the month of February. So for your LCFF money, because of that P1 certification of our ADA, which is defined as a refresher here, ADA is defined as the total days of student attendance divided by the total days of instruction. And as part of my second interim presentation, we did highlight that our ADA came in lower than what we anticipated, so we did see a reduction in our LCFF funding there. So just to show you how this impacts cash flow and just revenue for the month of February. So SB received just under $29,000 in state aid compared to previous months of $115,000. That's a big difference there. So I just wanted to really highlight and show you how that translates to dollars. So for SOC, We received $52,000 in state aid for the month of February as a result of P1 certification. And that is in comparison to prior monthly state aid amounts of just under $180,000. Basically, in revenue, just with Kelsey. So we did though receive some prior year state aid money, so we certified for the prior year, so we received a little bit more money there for both FD and associate. And then in lieu of property tax here, this is where most of our revenue source comes from. We received $420,000 for SB and $570,000 for associate. For federal funding, this is another again timing issue. A lot of our federal money doesn't come in until towards the end of the year, or it's even accrued and we don't receive it until 2 fiscal years. So for the current month, though, we did receive $79,000 for SB and $97,000 for SOC. And then for state funding, this was a very low revenue month for both schools. So for state, we only received child nutrition funding, and as you can see, timing again, we were funding dollar amount for November, and so we're still catching up with our state funding specifically for child nutrition program. And then just overall local donation and fundraising, we received $4,000 for SB and $7,000 for SOC, and this is primarily just on interest that we received with our cash and office level. So overall, for the month of February, SB received $566,000 in revenue, and SOC received $695,000 in revenue. So now expenses. So you can see just the loan and the salary and benefits, SB, we spent out $592,000 for the month of February. That already eats up all of the revenue that we have a lot of. And for SOC, salary and benefits, we paid out $676,000 there. For books and supplies, SB spent about $27,000 and SOC $28,000. Most of these costs are related to our child nutrition program, so our breakfast and our lunch meal. That's primarily the bulk of the expenses under this category. For services and other operating expenses that were kind of unique to the month of February is our conference registration for school watch, review conference, and other conferences such as capital conference. Myself, Mr. Barley, and HR director, Ms. Cuba, and then we also have our SOC portable costs that are hitting the books this month. And then lastly, our field trips. If you guys hear all the great, and see all the great pictures from our field trips, we have some different higher expenses there. And our special education, that's a monthly high expenditure that we see on the monthly. So overall, for February, the expenses for SB, we came in at $709,000, and for SOC, we came in at $870,000 for expenses. So just for the month of February alone, we are operating at $144,000 negative for SB and a negative income for SOC at $175,000. So this is just for the month of February. So you take that, for all the other months throughout the year, we kind of see where we're at with our actuals through the month of February. Any questions with that before I move on to this?
It sounds like you're saying, first of all, thanks for allowing me. This is awesome. It sounds like you're saying sometimes we don't get paid.
We don't.
Okay.
Get paid
Timely.
or timely. We get paid, it just takes a long time. And the federal government.
And so is there, I guess, well, this is an open question, is there a, I'm thinking kind of a bar chart, some way to say, hey, this is what we were expecting. This is what we got, because sometimes that would normalize this away, to say, hey, really, this is just the payment alignment. And I think you had a report out there, cash flows, but you called it something, timing. So the timing,
That's a revenue.
right? And so I wonder if there's a way that we could normalize that out a little bit to say, hey, look, they're good for it. We know it's coming. It's just not here right now. And therefore, we're operating, there's a net operating income deficit. Seems like. I wonder, and this is an open question. I don't want to just say do extra work because it's fun to do. But it is meaningful enough, I feel like, that if we could in some way help say, hey, this negative thing, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just that timing. I wonder if there's some benefit to that in some way.
I think the first page in this presentation, Raymond, was meant to be kind of saying that, but I understand your monthly point, but this is to say exactly what you said, which is that the actuals is today, we are operating at a negative 685,000, but we expect to end the year at 352,000. That's for S, right? And for SOC, we are operating right now. To date, we are negative in the whole 500,000. We're going to be positive 404,000. But maybe there's a way to simplify this, to clarify this more, so and so that we can make this exactly what you said. Make the point that don't be afraid of the negative 700,000 or negative 500,000, because that's a kind.
Because if the goal is to help, we want to enlist folks in the conversation. Right, so we want parents to participate. We want anybody who's interested to participate without having to have, Paul's level of command of this. And so if there's some way for us to give more of a, I don't know, just a challenge, just a thought. I don't know that there's benefit. Sounds like there might be.
Yeah.
So maybe the challenge is maybe think of maybe just, I get so much peace from knowing that you know I'm doing this, by the way, every Friday before this, it makes me feel so.
But I think Paul also adds, it's been great because he has a different, like I look in the details and he looks at the big picture. So I think it's like working out really well.
But I think as a finance committee, to Raymond's point, we could see whether there is a messaging. I think our first attempt, we discussed this, the first attempt to have this 3 lines at the bottom, that was the first attempt to reassure everyone, don't worry about the negative numbers.
And then to kind of have that like.
Yeah, so maybe make it simplify even more. Yeah.
All of this, but I think maybe come up with a visual to finance committee of how to maybe.
I also think that last column is like very scary.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wonder if there is value in keeping that, but we can discuss that at finance committee, because I should say we are at 224,000, 225% in the whole. That's really not the. Right?
But then
Because-
we're gonna cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but we can talk about that
Yeah.
later, but I think Raymond's your point is well taken, that we have to make sure that people just looking at this chart will say, wait, you're gonna operate at a negative 60, and where are you getting the money?
Yeah, because who's our audience here? Who's really looking at this? Is like an PowerPoint stuff, right? If you want to dig into the full blown set of financials, man, they're all the answers to the world questions are in there. But for this part, to help the, a parent look at this and be like, man, here's a well-run organization, or these guys are on track, so they're really working hard to make sure this stuff reconciles. Or, hey, we have a genuine opportunity to do better. What is it that, where are we off? Like some time, I don't expect that we're, everything's gonna be perfect. There's gonna be surprises.
I think we had a surprise when we looked at the second interim budgets and we realized that SV is gonna be negative net income, but the staff gave us explanation of what there's the middle school component to it, and a little bit of leaning forward on future programs.
A lot of big projects.
Exactly,
we're
yeah,
doing lately.
exactly.
And I guess the final analysis I would say in that is, I never want the presence of negative numbers to be like, oh, that's just that timing thing, when it's really not. So I want to be looking at like healthy numbers. I don't know how to say that, right? But I want to be looking at numbers that are sensible, so that if I see a negative number, I go, oh, what's up with that? We should call our attention to that. And
All right, cool. And then I think we should be okay with running a year at negative operating income, even at the budget level, as you said, because yes, that's something to investigate, but we have money in the bank. So if we
And we
need
need
to
to have-
move forward, we can do that. But
We
yes,
need to have those reasons why.
correct, we need
Yeah,
to,
and
we need to
everybody
understand
knows
it.
those
Yeah.
reasons
And we need to
why,
make sure it's
and we
clear.
need to project it out that that's not gonna be an ongoing issue.
And it's reassuring, Ms. Conner, you said that we are sort of on track to hit our budget numbers. That's the thing that we will be most looking for. We understand you have to manage the cash flow, so just reassuring us the actuals, but we're also saying, are you going to hit that second interim budget? It's reassuring to say, we're pretty close. That's good.
So here, we have been kind of overview of the OPA middle school multi-year projection. We are starting with the first column with year 0, which is the current year that we're at, 2023-24. And then kind of the 3 years following that. So what we really wanted to show you here is that we are planning to have expenses for the current year, even though the middle school technically has not opened, right? It won't be open until next school year. But we have some compensation and benefits, some salary and benefits that we anticipate we are planning to spend in the current year, specifically the last 3 months of the current year. And so we wanted to show you that here. We also wanted to show you that the way these expenses are going to be paid for, from the cash standpoint, is a loan. And so our current two school sites, Saddleback Valley and South Orange County, have money and their investment account, and they would be lending this money to the middle school so that we can operate and pay for these expenses in the current year and in the future. Months before all of that LCFF state money and everything comes forward for the middle school. So that $915,000 that you see there, although it's showing as a local revenue, I just want to highlight that it's you won't be seeing that as a revenue. It's more so just from a tax bill perspective. So you will see that 915 on your balance sheet as cash. And so the middle school will be operating at a negative. Have a negative operating income for year 0. Right now, we're showing that $126,000, which is just salary and benefits for the current school year.
And
what
that's the central staff that we're hiring.
Yes.
In the school, plus the one, okay, so we're gonna move budget from folks already here from middle school, we're gonna move them starting in April. And any new, like the dean, for example, like this, that replace them, that also is gonna be, whenever we hire them.
When they're hired.
I think this is important for the board because we are going to approve not only this budget as a year 0 budget, but we also going to approve the loan, the 915,000. And you see that the team has shown that they're going to start paying back in year 2. That's that. Right?
Yes, that's that other outflow.
So the one question I had, and I don't know if this one or we discuss it when we approve it. There is no interest obligation that middle school has to do. No, I'm talking about the arm's length type of thing. I don't know what the education rules are.
Yeah, there's no requirement for
Okay,
us.
I just want to make sure, yeah.
Do any interest in also, technically the students are our current students.
Yeah.
Technically, we're sort of raised this money, so we're just loaning it for their school. So, but in, and this really was this kind of loan was really to sort of cover all of our bases, because it's kind of a gray area in the law around whether, because our students are really just matriculating into this school, it's not an entirely separate school with entirely separate students, whether we couldn't have just taken our current money and not done anything, but we wanted to make sure that we were, completely following any possible even future law to have to do with this. And so that's why we decided to really have it be a loan, and that has to be paid back because it is a separate school, even though it is, kind of a gray area because it's not a school of entirely new students. So we had our attorney speak with the board during an open meeting last year to kind of make sure that we were doing this as, as legally responsibly as we possibly and fiscally responsibly as we possibly could. So that's where the loan idea emerged versus just making it kind of a donation.
The process question I had was, today we say SV has how many over $1 million and SVC is, that 45-55 split. Next year, will middle school be entitled to a proportion of that?
Yes, so
Okay,
any of
good.
our split
I just want to make sure.
positions, us, any of the other positions that are split, Ms. Palomino, we would then, right now, we do it based on the enrollment of SV versus the enrollment of SOC. SOC has a higher enrollment, about 55% of our total enrollment versus 45. So next year, once we have those those enrollment numbers solidified, if we go through the lottery and all of that, then we'll determine what that percentage is based off of our total organization.
But that's expenses. I'm more asking the money in the bank in our balance sheet. Right now, you're allocating a proportion to SB, a proportion to SOC. Next year, would we rejig the balance sheet so the middle school has money in the bank as well or not? Maybe we can ask the
We
question.
don't take money out of our current reserves because those reserves, we already have them separated based on where the revenue came from. So as far as revenue that comes in, that is revenue that's earned by that particular school site. So it may not be sometimes a perfect 45-55 split because SB might have a different proportion of special education students. And so that revenue is based off of the actual student in that school. So the middle school revenue would come based on the actual students that we have enrolled in the middle school. So we wouldn't reallocate our current reserves because those reserves are based on the income that we generated from those students in that school. The middle school will have to start building up its own reserves. And so when you look at our multi-year projections, you can see the middle school reserves down kind of at the very bottom, the ending fund balance of the middle school starts with what's left over from that loan. Then the next year, it actually goes to, and then my screen is very small, but like 843,000 would be the ending fund balance because that's what's left over. In terms of the revenue from the middle school that year, then it will go up to 1.157. So it's not like we're going to take reserves away from our two current schools and allocate it to the middle school. The middle school will start generating its own reserves based on the positive operating.
So Paul, are you saying that the middle schoolers are deserving of a portion of the?
Yeah, because they earned it.
Because they earned it, even if it happened at the elementary school level, you're asking if it should go.
Yeah,
to
because
the
if you're
next-
splitting the elementary school, I mean, we don't have to discuss it. We can go to finance committee and discuss this, but. Again, I understand what you said, which is that, no, we're not gonna give a donation because they're not entitled to anything. We're doing that out of abundance of caution. But it seems like there is an opportunity to strengthen the balance sheet of all three schools. And if it's legally possible to do it, they're entitled to it, right? So you can even say, okay, there's K through 8. So it's how many, 9 different grade levels. So 3 grade levels are going to middle school, maybe a third of it should go to. We don't have to agree on it, but it's a question I have is that,
Something to think about.
yeah, something to think about, because they, as you said, they've earned they are our students already, so. from the-
And I think that was kind of when
You-
Jerry came
yeah.
to talk to us, that was where he thought there may be too gray of an area
Yeah,
to
we can-
allocate those funds because there is some legal precedent around if it is an entirely new school, you can't transfer funds from a currently existing school to an entirely new school. This is sort of a gray area.
Yeah.
But
So that's why we're paying it back.
where we wanted to, out of an abundance of caution, for no one to be able to come back and say, no, you took money out of OPA SOC and you transferred it to a new school that has a new CDS code, an entirely different organization. Because it's kind of a gray area, there hasn't been any legal precedent set. But that specific case, we don't want to be the legal precedent.
Yeah.
And because we can show that the middle school is going to start creating its own reserves. And in the future, we can always give the middle school another loan from our reserves out of the other two schools like we have now and keep it kind of cleaner. We do have a strong reserve as an organization, a very, very strong reserve as an organization.
What is our reserve?
For I think it's about 8 or 9 million.
And I think it was.
Exact number.
So for $300,000, don't worry about it. Yeah.
So if we needed to, if for some reason we needed to do another $900,000 loan to the middle school for something, we have that ability, but also the ability to make sure that we don't set precedent for that.
I'd like to discuss this more, but we can do it in a smaller, just because there's like so many complexities, as you said. I think there's a way we can strengthen the middle school if we need, because I understand we have a $9 million reserve, but it's actually the two campuses have a 9 million goal. That's how.
Not,
it's-
not the
Not the middle
yeah,
school,
middle
right?
school,
So
yeah.
we should debate that separately. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
And then just to add to that with middle school, next month, if everything gets approved tonight, we will start beginning to see middle school financial. So I present the income statement, you'll see that. But if everything gets approved tonight with the loan and everything. And then just to highlight, revenue for 2024 does not include two possible grants right now that OPA is applying for. It's a charter school fee grant for $600,000 and a public charter school grant program of another $600,000. And so we should be notified sometime in the early summer whether or not we. Again,
Just to my board mates, we're gonna be approving the year zero budget today and the $915,000 loan today. So if you have any questions.
I do. I guess my question, and I'm gonna ask it a question. Is, since the middle school is technically starting the next academic year. Why are we creating a budget now in April when the new fiscal starts very soon?
So we actually submitted this year zero budget with our charter petitions that we submitted both in June and October. And really it was, to cover these positions that were kind of forecasting, that are starting for the middle school before the actual middle school opens. So anytime in a charter petition, and a lot of times we don't have the luxury like we do of having two schools already opening. So with a charter petition, you do have to submit a year zero budget to show any projected costs that you would have to spend prior to that school actually opening. And so, because that is part of the budget, and because we wanted to make sure that, for up until now, it's really just been John's salary, and he's been working really closely. He's on both of our campuses and helping out with both of our current schools. But with an office manager that's only focused on the middle school, with a dean now that's really going to be focused on the middle school, a registrar that's focused on doing lottery for just the middle school, not really being spread across those two school sites. We thought that now was a good time to kind of split that out and actually start using the middle school money, because those people are
Dedicated to it.
focusing on them.
Okay, thank you. I knew the answer, but I wanted to.
It's good to have it in case there's any questions.
And then just to be clear, we're not splitting the office staff this year.
No,
Rest of the year.
we're just doing those people who are.
Only
fully
dedicated to the
focused
middle.
on the-
That makes a ton of sense. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, no, good clarification.
So again, just one more last thing, and then we can move on
Yeah.
to the 950.
We don't have
Here,
a
although
lot.
it shows local revenue, it is not revenue, it will not be revenue.
Yeah.
It will be cash balance on the balance sheet. So I just want to highlight that. This purpose.
We'll add us up to the fact that we have a $20,000 credit limit and say we have that much money for that.
All right, and so as member Archibald mentioned, we did go over the check register, credit card registers. So are there any other questions?
What's this, I saw the backward on one of the documents.
The contract.
No, on the check register.
Oh, so credit card register. So in the month of February, Dr. Fernand's credit card was used without the permission.
Wait, what?
Compromised her. The credit card was compromised for a few charges, and so in March is when we received that money back. I think that's
What? What'd you think I meant when I said that? Come on. What kind of finance committee we have here?
God, they don't have students listening to this. call.
And we also talked.
Give broad line items, that's like this not okay.
We did talk about that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope. Any other questions? Sorry. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience. We will move into item number 10, items for action. We have several this today. Item number 8, approve registers, March check register, February credit card register, March credit card register. The director of the board of directors approve action items A 1 through 3. As member Agarwal said, we reviewed it in finance committee. We also recommend that we approve. And so any, may I have a motion, please?
I will make a motion to approve action item A, items 1 through 3.
Thank you very much. I will second it. Do we have any discussions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number B, approve first renewal year addendum to agreement to provide food service between Fresh Start Healthy Meals and Oxford Preparatory Academy. Propose entering into an addendum to the FMFC contract with Fresh Start Health Meals to provide breakfast and lunch service from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. It's LCAP goal or action goal 3, action 8. Funding source would be partially from the child nutrition. And budget of financial impact would be 339,580 for fiscal year 2022, 23-24. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item B. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Member Jackson. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Chavez. Any discussion?
This looks like a little bit of an increase here. Just kind of going off the. This is didn't we just sign up with these folks last year?
Yeah.
We
It was our
did,
first year, okay,
yeah.
because if I remember, it seemed like they were. We got a bunch of proposals from a bunch of different companies, they were a little better.
Correct.
Okay,
So we started the process, it's setting context in December of 2021, Rosa Palomino and I did some long process, which just started in August of this past year.
And we had some. Not as good results with our previous.
Previous vendor that we had for several years. So we did a bona fide, according to the rules, bid process, and out of that, we chose the least cost, projected best quality, best service with Fresh Start Health.
and I remember getting some positive feedback with the food was good.
We did the survey last December, and except for beans, it was pretty good.
And the beans are not good.
Yeah.
Maybe numbers.
So when I look at this, it looks like breakfast up 13%, looks like lunch is up
Yeah.
25+% here.
What we looked at, I went back to the notes, wrote what I did to help share with the board, the process we went through the analysis. And we have a food service company that helps sustain compliance. They're called School Food Wellness Group, but is aware of and it's approved. Great help from them to make sure that we're doing things right. And they give us the macro level of what's going on with food, really in California and across the country. So they did state that it was the biggest increase ever that all schools are seeing, okay, due to higher food costs. And we're all seeing it. in the first
Food
quarter.
insecurity issues.
Right. They did share a previous company, they were at 25% for an increase, okay. The average for this company, Fresh Start, was at 20%. For breakfast, it's 14%, and for lunch, it's 28%, okay. Other, the CPI index was around 8 at that time, 8%. All are getting approved above that CPI index is what we were told by our rep there. And then we had another company that was at 26% that they shared. They don't always share the names because it's proprietary at that time. Okay. Then the other things that they shared with us. We have 2 other firms that had companies that had breakfast increase 14%, 16%. We're at 14, so we're right kind of in that range. And for lunch, just in dollars, it was. We're at 400, we were at 355, we're at 430 in this addendum. And they were at 370, I'm sorry, at 427, okay, and again, we're at 430, so that's very close. And they were at 279 for breakfast, and we're at 245 for breakfast.
One thing, I mean, I noticed, I questioned these
You really did.
increases,
Yeah.
David knows
Yeah.
big time. And so one of the things that well, that's why I didn't have all the numbers.
Yeah.
Look it all up.
Good job.
But But also go and contact, because these do have to be approved through the California Department of Education Food Services Department, so I also made the phone with CDE and make sure that they were seeing similar increases and that they would approve, because they have to approve these contracts and these addendums, and that they would ultimately approve this addendum with these increases based on them kind of seeing similar things out there. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge
Jump.
increase.
The company
But-
Fresh Start,
But we're required to provide food for students, and we, across the state, California made it so that we have to provide free lunch and breakfast for every single student who wants it, and so that, I think, for a lot of these food service companies who were kind of lowballing everybody last year, they realized, wow, we have this enormous, increase in demand with the increase in costs of materials. So, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I made it even an expert.
and when we talked with Fresh Start, I mean, they wanted to own the market last year. Okay, a lot of people shifted to them. I think they realized they weren't making enough money, right? Given everything, transportation, gas costs,
They
food
gave too
costs.
much away.
They did, so we can look at it, they've got a really good deal last year, but now it's being right sized this year. Okay, that's.
And this may mean that we have to go out and do another bid next year, just to make sure that, I mean, David and Rosa did a lot of work on trying to find comparables, but that's not the same as, going out and doing another bid. So if it seems, as we go through that that there might be a better deal out there somewhere, then we can
We'll find
always go to, normally we would wait and do 3 years before we did a bid, but, kind of with all of the costs changing and things like that, we may push that up a year, and kind of see if we want to go out to bid and, bring that to you guys next year. We want to push that 3-year timeline up here and do our bid process again next year.
So wasn't this kind of your deal? Weren't you kind of involved in this?
I just wanted better food for the kids.
Yeah.
I just wanted better food for the kids, so.
You were the impetus way back then.
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah,
And there was a pretty significant need for that.
yeah.
The other company. And our utilization has gone up
Yeah,
tremendously.
yeah.
And as Rosa shared on the last slide, I mean, we get about 50% reimbursed, right? 50 to 60%. Yeah.
Okay, so this thing's going up 13%, 28%. The net to us is really half of it.
Because the state
Yeah.
reimbursed, but
Now, will the state increase its reimbursement, or is it,
As of right now, the state and the fed, they have their rates set
okay,
for the.
so yeah, so it's still gonna go up that, whatever.
And the way we can impact costs is through, food management, food waste management. And also our ordering to make sure that we're ordering really very close to what our needs are, our students and parents. So important that the parents and families sign up for the food, because we can guess. I mean, we know what food they really like and what days that, we have a lot of food. And then there are other days where it's just not as much utilization. We're not really way off, but if we can even work harder on that, we have Jessica who's doing a great job, then we can save some money that way too.
well, you buy pizzas when you run out, don't you?
Well.
And we
Fresh
prefer
Start-
not.
Fresh Start. They do that, yeah,
Save some money now that we bought some of the.
lease it, we don't have to lease it.
Mm.
That's true.
And that was with the kitchen grant that you guys.
Well, some my 43% of health insurance can increase. That's.
We'll be talking about health insurance at the next.
Yeah. Even will be here next meeting.
This is with focus health insurance fund too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
You got a big impact on that.
Yeah.
But David and Eva did a really good job of trying to get that down. So
Well,
that it's not Raymond's 45%.
Yeah.
lots of choice and options for input, yeah. What other questions?
So I have a concern, a broader concern about this, that I know we have to approve this today, but I want me. Our contract with Fresh Start says they can't raise the prices more than CPI. For food outside, food eaten outside. And David has confirmed that that is 8%, even if it's 10%. So contractually, both for breakfast and lunch, we've signed a contract with them. They will not cut us a break if we ask them to do something different from the contract, right? Now, the numbers we're talking are relatively small, and I know you guys said you're gonna get some savings and so on. But I have a broader question of, this is the second time we're doing this. How are we gonna keep our vendors? It's not acceptable for somebody to come and low bid and then say, sorry, I was just trying to get more market share. This would never fly and so I just don't know how to manage that. I mean, it's more of a fiscal management for us is how do we, is our contracts not enforceable? Right, and that's my broader question to the staff is, I mean, I think this is the second time we are allowing something that is outside the contract in the past 3 months. And so I think this notion of food prices going up and so on, that's fine, but the CPI for food eaten outside is supposed to measure in an aggregate manner what it is. So 8.8% is very different from 14% and 28%. And my question is, next year, what is stopping Fresh Start from coming with another 40% and say, oh, even last year we didn't recoup our costs.
Right.
Right, so that's my broader concern.
Very good point.
Totally true, and a great point. I think that's where we would need to decide, do you want to take out the bid a year early? They can still bid it, okay, anybody can bid it. But then it's a very unfair, and then we learn a lot, we really do.
But the thing is that we setting a precedent this year by letting them not fulfill the contract is I know we may not want to litigate and so on, but David, you and I have had this discussion already too. Full transparency. He and I had a long conversation today about this topic. It's not about this particular contract, it's more about if OPA doesn't have if you're unable to enforce contracts with one vendor or two vendors, it's just going to keep on going for me. So I don't know how to solve that problem.
I mean, and if the board was to decide that we wanted to litigate for reaching the contract, that I guess would be an option. This is an addendum to the contract, so we could, say that we are going to go with this contract, but we do need to make sure that we have some sort of backup. Because summer school starts this summer, we need to make sure that we have it. So this is something that we, and these companies, I mean, like David said, you talked to even the CDE person and they said, boards are having these same questions. But I think, in some ways the food service companies know that they have everyone, because everyone has to continue to provide meals, and it is sort of not, these contracts are all getting approved right now. And they know that if we all have to go out and rebid all of these contracts, then there is possibility that we won't meet our own compliance requirements of having that food. So, for better or worse, this is happening kind of across the state because of the timing of when all schools have to, do these contracts and do the bids, and how long the bid process takes for any public school entity to do, because we can't just go out and say, okay, well, so and so seems cheaper and we're gonna go with them. We have to go through an entire bid process. Right? So there you go. I mean, Fresh Start.
Bid process did not yield us positive results this year, right? Last year's bid process, we're throwing that out.
We got a bunch of not bids, right?
Huh?
Sorry, didn't we get a bunch of?
We
did.
Red Foods did.
Red Food.
No, I understand, but
Several.
you did a bid process for 6 months. We got a contract for 3 years, but we're throwing away that contract this year.
Well, is there?
Right, so you didn't lead us to the right option.
They wouldn't have renewed us. Okay,
Okay, but then, actually, I mean, let me ask you, is this because we are small? Would they be able to get away with this with SDUSD?
FBUSD has its own food service department.
No,
So
but-
everybody that these companies deal with are small
But if-
organizations.
But is it an option for us to say then, hey, listen, the contract that we signed with you says up to 8% or whatever the number is. You came to us with net 14, we're feeling like that's not okay. We're not doing this because there's not really a lot of judgment here, right? The light has a job to do, and that's to make great decisions. We signed a good contract, it's a valid contract. And if every time we come back to the light and say, hey, give her a story, say, but I'd really like a triple raise, and do that. I'm pretty sure she's got a responsibility to not do that. So even though you might have a compelling story, I feel like, is there a way for us to say, hey, we want to renew, we want to do this, but we're going to do it at 8%, right? Which is, we're not going to challenge you on, say we only go 6, or, we're not trying to make a deal here. We're saying, look, the contract says 8, 8's the number. We're happy to go to 8. We like working with you, except for the beans. But other than that, let's do 8.
Or even 14. I mean,
I think it nets out.
what is our negotiation right now, right? What did they start with, and what did we end up at? And I know you said that they won't renew us if we say only 8, but then that feels like we're sort of left with no option.
Yeah.
But maybe then it's a learning opportunity for us, or other contract, like, I don't even want to know what's going to happen for our benefits, right? We have enough time to debate that and push back, and maybe not this year. This year we may have to eat some of these things, but maybe next year we start having these negotiations even earlier, right?
So if we, say that again, so if we said to them, hey, we know you submitted at this, contract says 8, we're happy to renew at 8, let's renew at 8. They have the option of saying, yeah, no.
They don't, but they choose.
He's saying they do.
They would not.
No, but wait a second, but it's a.
Well, what's the
contract,
value of
right?
it?
So I don't know.
It's not calculation between campus.
1 year with the,
There you go.
1 year with the renewal.
There you
This is the renewal addendum.
it's kind of like,
So
We
they-
can sign up for 3 years, basically. We just go out for RFP in 3
You
years.
go out for
what you're saying.
RFP every 3 years normally because the RFP process is difficult to do every single year.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't do a full RFP every single year. So
Yeah.
this was a new company. And so normally we also don't do extended contracts with brand new companies because we don't know how they're gonna, I mean, if they had been horrible, we wouldn't want to be locked into them without having any,
So the
ability to
two-
try them.
So the 2 options are we go out for RFP earlier this time, and we just keep this,
So we can, yeah.
so we can serve the kids,
we could do.
or we could not do the contract, not renew it, and then we don't have any options for people.
Then we
We
have
do
to
miss
try
summer
to do
school.
a really fast RFP, but I don't think it's probably get.
You're never gonna get a contract in place and food on the table for summer school.
You won't be inside for.
Don't we have an obligation to do that? This isn't
It's
like elective.
Yeah,
We have
it's
to
not-
do this.
we have to have,
This is a CD contract.
Yeah.
It's not our contract.
yeah, we don't make
They
these
approve for
contracts.
all
The
schools.
California Department of Education makes these contracts, they approve them, so
Yeah.
we just follow what, we have we pick our vendors and based
Yeah.
on what their services are and everything, but this is the California Department of Education.
They approve everything. The
Approved
vendor,
contract.
everything.
So they can unilaterally not serve us? But that's what our contract says right now. They can say,
The
we will
contract
not.
ended after a year.
Part-
It ended after a year.
Yeah,
So it
contract
ended June.
ends, so
June
we-
30th.
What does it
would
mean when
not
we say we
do
have a 3-year contract? What is that?
We have an opportunity to do an addendum or do an extension for an additional year additional. It's kind of like the auditors, right? Same idea, right? We have a contract with them and then we can do an extension. Right?
So it's not really a
But it's not
3-year
three-year.
It's not
contract,
really
I'm
a-
saying.
Not
Yeah.
3 years.
It's a 1-year
Contract
contract.
with 2
You do
extensions.
extend up to
Right.
3
Renewal.
years.
Yeah, that's what we should say.
But then
It's not
why
a-
did we even have a clause to cap the increase? I don't understand. Why did we even have a cap to, why did we have that in the
Is that
contract?
for show?
Now that.
No. Is the cap for show?
Yeah.
You talking about?
Hey, what, if it's only a 1-year contract, why did we even talk about next year's? price?
Why would it say there's an 8% CPI?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
So it's a 1-year contract with the option to renew for like 2 or 3 years. That's why we have this, that's why the CDE approves that CPI index, so we can do this process and everything now. Like to review what our prices will be, and they give us lower prices. So that's why that language. And it's a 1-year contract with the option to renew for another 3 years without having to go through it all.
Well, what I hear
But
Paul's
why are
question
they-
is, the CPI, you could just delete the entire CPI section.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, it's, because you're gonna give me a new number.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's not
you're gonna
gonna
like
be
it or
for
lump
me.
it.
That's in
Leave
the
it.
CDE.
And again, that's the
Contract.
CD contract,
Okay.
and then CDE.
Oh, I see. You're saying that the CPI thing is in there for CDE because they
Yeah.
want it in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
their contract.
But the vendor signed this contract,
They did.
Yes,
so I don't understand. I mean, I'm
but the
confused.
net of it is, they can say, hey, here's the number and take it or leave it.
Right.
And
So what other contracts do we have like this, where we have no control over price increases of the year? Is a health contract like this, that there is no cap on it?
Oh, you have a broker, okay, the broker goes to carrier, same as our business insurance, the broker goes to carriers on our behalf, okay. And shops it in the marketplace, however, you don't want to shop it, as you know, with insurance every single year, because the carriers
Changes, yeah.
won't want to touch you, okay.
And for employees coverage changes.
Yeah, coverage.
Yeah. So you want to be in covered, right?
They love that.
Options for employees. So nothing's exactly like this, I would say, that we have.
And our
Because-
contract is very similar to this, where it's a 1-year contract. They give us a price for that 1 year. With an option to extend for up to 3 years. And each year we do an addendum with them, and they basically give us their costs for that new year.
And we can take it or.
And we can
leave it.
take it or leave it, but then we'd have to go out to bid if we leave it. We have that opportunity in time to be able to retake contracts out to bid. We, again, try not to do that more than every 3 years, but if we can, sometimes there's timing issues where we, like for healthcare benefits, you know, they have their time when they give us their proposals. And, you know, that comes at the same time each year based on when our open enrollment period is.
Yep.
Same thing, you know, even with like the auditor, they put out their proposals based on when the audit cycle is for each year, and the state has a date that they have to give us their proposal and we have to turn that in. So, you know, sometimes those deadlines don't always coincide with the very long-term bid process. And our ability to go out to bid again.
I think what's different about the food service one is because of the state's interest and the public's interest in providing food for all students, right? Across the state, you know, and we get reimbursed through very specialized programs, actual food, school run program, all of those, there's just this additional kind of way that it's looked at, or whatever. you want.
Well, like kind of layer
Yeah.
of bureaucracy
Yeah.
that we have to use the CDP approved contracts,
And
because they are the ones that oversee the program and make sure that everyone is in compliance with it.
I'm gonna ask, maybe, have you talked to our attorney about this? Because especially just spending more time reading this contract, to me, it seems like, and especially with what my fellow board members are saying, it just seems like they set it up so that they could just, that they said one thing in the contract and now they're saying a totally another different thing. And I know, David, you're probably negotiating with them as best you can, but honestly believe this is why we have attorney support, is to help us with stuff like this. And I feel like we're not utilizing our attorney to support us. Cause, you know,
We took
Yeah,
it to California Department of.
but it's not that, it's not that, if you read the contract, it talks about the cost adjustment. You know, and I'm not an attorney, I will never claim to be one, but to me, this is just so out of line with what their contract says, that it doesn't make sense that we aren't asking our attorneys to step in and say, can you see if you can find something applicable for us? That's a middle ground for us not to, you know, have an additional $300 and some odd being taken away from our kids because we have to pay more for their food costs if they undercut their costs the first year.
we can
We can take it.
Yeah.
I mean, but have you? My question is, have
If not,
you?
no.
No,
No.
okay.
But, so the question, so maybe this is a dumb question too, is because, I mean, I think that was a valid question, but. It's that.
Call it an audience.
No, no, so, but they gave us a contract for a year. It's a year. We agreed to it. They gave us a new number. We could choose not to do it. I don't know how the attorney's gonna help us with that. We
I just
could
wanna
jump-
know
like, take it
options.
or, yeah.
I just want to know options,
I
and I
think-
feel like we haven't.
I
explored
feel
all
like
options.
somebody needs to review, I mean.
Yes,
We need to have the,
exactly.
maybe our contracts are not, we're not writing our contracts well.
But that's not our contract.
That's a standard contract.
It's a boilerplate.
I mean,
But
come on, guys. I
there's
mean, no one has
no
been
one's
able to
gonna
explain to
reach
me,
us.
no one has been able to explain to me, why is there a clause for the CPI? Someone explain that, right? But look, I think I'm willing to abstain from this vote. If you guys are ready, let's go ahead and vote and move on, and I continue to have my discussions with you.
And-
So I'm good with that, you know.
I would
what
like to postpone this until our
What
next.
I can commit to is we can talk to the attorney, if we can, we're agreeable with that. We can, obviously, we'll take the feedback and we can do the bidding process for next year. I'm very nervous about not having food this year, and I don't want. I'm just gonna.
So when do we have to sign this? I mean, not that,
I told our CDE rep to wait because he's already asked for it. I said, we're having a board meeting tonight. And then I'll be able to hopefully before they will send it back so that they can do what they need to do. From there, it goes to school food wellness group. Okay, so there's just many. steps.
so we're up against a timeline. Which,
Every year, this is what has
So-
happened with our previous vendor.
so maybe
So we can learn from it. and-
so
and
maybe we do it
approach differently next
in
year.
January or February. or
Like you started in 2021 for this year.
But, so it's gonna be a moot point if we don't have, if there's 2 and 2. It's,
Well, and they also just gave you the increase right now.
I know.
So you didn't
exactly.
know
That's not-
months
that's not
ago
fair.
that increase.
Yeah.
So we could have started this conversation 2 months
Exactly.
ago.
It went back.
Yeah. And it's the
Okay.
same thing with business insurance, you know,
Yeah.
what the carriers give it, with health
but we didn't
insurance,
ask
you
them
know,
for
when
an
they do it.
addendum, so
Yeah, well, and I don't think it would have been.
if we'd asked them for an
Halfway through the
addendum in
thing.
January, we would have had this.
No,
we
We
wouldn't.
wouldn't, nobody does it until.
You have a 1-year contract and they, if you would have
And then
2
it's
months into your,
not
you went.
It's just-
That's renewable up to 4 years, not 3.
No.
We usually say
We
3
do
because
three,
we
that's
do
our
it
practice.
yearly.
That's our practice.
That's our practice. I don't think, just like, other things may be renewable for as many years as we want them to. We just usually will try to redo any kind of big RFPs every 3 years.
I mean, we can't be the only ones that are dealing with
And
this.
But it sounds like
From
you
what I've
talked
been
to them and
told,
there's a bunch of us.
they're all, boards are struggling, everyone's struggling because the increases are huge.
Mhm.
Okay, and the same thing with health insurance, we'll talk about that, huge increase. So it's just not good news, and I hate to be the bearer of that.
No, but it's good to get a heads up that
Yeah.
it's coming.
And then if I may, just one last time, to that, Mr. President, explain that PPI clause, so PD has that in their contract. For both for the vendor and for the client, so for OPA and for the vendor, so that's that clause where they can come back and make use of that PPI. We're gonna maximize it and send you an addendum based on that number, if they did. Then that is there for us to say, hey, you guys should know that this is where they should be increasing, they did. Now, we have a choice whether we should move forward with them and renew or not, based on this law.
So-
it's kind of like a two-way.
But that's the
What
problem, I
did
don't
they
have a
say?
choice
Yeah,
now. I
exactly.
don't
What
have a
did
choice
they-
now, right? Because if I don't approve it today, you're saying you can't give lunch so I don't have a choice right now, right? Right? That's what you're telling me, right? Right now, I don't have a choice. I don't have that choice you're giving me is not a real choice because if I don't approve it today, you're saying you won't be able to serve lunch. And we will fall behind on our duty to the state, which, again, it seems like a unusual thing to be in place to be in.
And so when you presented them the percentage, because obviously you've done your homework very well. They just said, sorry, this is the price. Pretty much. Wow.
I mean, it's a learning opportunity for us for next
Crazy.
year, and honestly, I would love to understand what are the contracts that we have like this, that we don't have any protections for ourselves. Right, I mean, again, this is not about this particular contract, because the numbers, I assume this 340,000 is total spend, right?
Total.
This is total without reimbursement or with reimbursement?
Without, so.
This is without reimbursement.
50%
So- so
or 60.
If I save 10% from it, that's $30,000. That's not gonna break our bank. The point I'm trying to make here is if are there other larger contracts where we think we have the protection, but people are gonna blow out the protection because we don't have the muscle to push back, or do we have contracts where we're exposed right now? And I have no sense of that, and maybe that's something that maybe hopefully you guys can do some analysis and
Yeah.
maybe even,
Can I take a passage at the address? I love what Paul's saying.
Mhm.
What if we had, I'm just thinking, like a Google sheet that said, on this row this is the agreement, this is the term. Are we locked? What are the increases? Is it locked in or is it a variable? When does it renew? When does it automatically renew? When are we going out to bid? But that might be a way for us to put, especially the big ticket items in here. So that if there are variables, we can start negotiating and looking at them really, float them through legal to say, hey, this person comes back with a whopper of an increase, what are our options? Yeah, because like Paul, I mean, I just penciled this out here and I'm kind of elbowing Denelli and like, "Ooh, this is big, man, this is huge, this is like another health insurance pump, I just got one of these. But it's 30 grand, so I'm thinking to myself, hey, look, here's the number. Let's say we don't do it and we go out to bid. What are we going to save? The transition cost is going to be significant. It's going to be a huge lift to change to save what? You know what I mean? And the number doesn't seem like it's fantastic enough to me to be, all that said.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes, they're weighing the options. I mean, any contract, someone can violate that contract. It's, do we want to then go to litigation to try to enforce?
But it's not just litigation. I think that the thing that I want to hear more of is that, that our contracts are being reviewed by our legal counsel so when we see them, they've already gone past the muster test on so many things that I wouldn't know because I'm not an attorney. And that's to me what I think creates a level of comfort when these things come up saying, if you would have said to me, yes, we also ran this by our attorney, there's nothing else we can do at this point. I would have a stronger level of comfort than I have right.
So, but in the same sense, if we did this spreadsheet or whatever that had. We're locked in,
Disagreement.
this contract says that we're locked in, but we're only locked in for a year, which they delivered, so. We're still in a position of needing. Something, yeah.
Something.
And
but
I
we'll be in the same position next March too.
Yeah.
Exactly,
that's what I'm saying.
exactly.
And so what did we learn from it? And are we gonna now see another 40% increase next year? And they say, sorry, we can't renew.
Well, I
I mean,
think
it's more about are we as an organization gearing up for quote unquote fights like these, right? Because again, these are all small items, right?
Well, it's
But then-
not a fight, because to me, it's not a fight, right?
They don't.
Because they put it in there, we can take it or leave. There's no,
Yeah.
it's a 1-year contract.
I mean, Rosa was there, we were up there.
It's not, it's a 3-year RFP process, but it's a 1-year contract. They delivered on it. So what do we have? We can just say no to the addendum. And then
Yeah,
it puts
I
us
mean,
in a
we can
position.
decide that we want to go out to bid every single year if we only have a 1-year contract.
And we start at 6 months
And
ahead
we
of time.
start at 6 months ahead of time, anything that we only had, any big.
But aren't there really only 3 or 4 dividers anyway?
Yeah,
That's
but
getting
to
there.
your point of how do we kind of get around this happening in the future, that would be, because this is only a 1-year contract, that would really be the only way to get around something being a 1-year contract is to say that we would go out to bid. And that's that is an option.
We wouldn't go
And
out
I'm
to
not-
bid, we
no.
would start negotiating with Fresh Start in January. And then decide if they're gonna increase the price, we don't like it, they don't wanna come to the
Right.
table, then you have the option of bidding, but we wouldn't bid every single time, I'm saying.
Yeah.
If
You
they're
would-
willing to come to the table to bid, they should be willing to come to the table to negotiate, right, that's my question.
I
You
see
wouldn't
that.
want to bid every year because then in the marketplace, with those names, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Because they're social companies, they say we're not even.
We're not gonna.
We're not even.
bid.
And I get that. I think that there's so much legality to these agreements that to me, there might be another option that we might not know. That we can't see because of we're not attorneys, and I have a lot of faith in attorneys. So.
And where that comes
I
from.
know. That's what happened. with Barry.
Yeah.
So
So is it safe then? Does it sound like it sounds. Like we should have every agreement over X automatically reviewed, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I don't understand why we don't.
Just so we know it's gone
Yeah.
through because it's over X.
Yeah.
What's that number? Yeah, we have to figure out what that.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
and
part of
maybe the
policy.
finance committee talks about that
Mhm.
or, but maybe that. We get there, you know?
Mhm.
Because
No, I
that's
agree.
that's gonna make everybody more comfortable.
Yes, yes.
Okay, the landscaping, it's $25,000, we know it's gone through legal for the 25, or whatever the number is.
Yeah,
If it
yeah.
meets the threshold for the.
Yeah.
Bid or
Yeah.
RFP process, then.
I mean, you want to feel comfortable, obviously, but we also want to move things forward so we can take care of our students. So.
But I think you reached out to everybody, I think it's this isn't, we're not getting exacted upon some big punishment. I don't feel like they're coming to us out of cycle to come at us, this is one of those things where. It's not fun, it's not fun. And I think maybe there has to be some mechanism to. Get some notice ahead, so we feel like we've got a little bit of scramble in us, we've got time to scramble if we want. But I don't even know that this is a number big enough that I would want to scramble any, even if it was, but. Anyway, so we have a motion on the table, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm willing to say if I have a commitment from the staff that you guys are going to go through and help us determine the risk assessment. Proactively, and then commit to telling us ahead of time if there's any big surprise that's coming. And really like. I mean, I still feel like. Having a 1-year contract with no clause and then negotiating 2 months ahead. Is just we are unnecessarily putting stress on ourselves, and so. I want to understand what you guys are going to do about it. I know you can't answer it right now. And I know, again, I will say that. We are not being given a choice. It's like, we have to do this, otherwise you're saying. I have to deliver pizzas every day on somewhere. Pizza. Which-
I mean, the kids will be all over that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally.
We can do that.
So if I have that commitment and if there's like a rough timeline, maybe 2 months hence, you'll bring that to. Either finance committee or governance
And we-
committee, and then we'll
You
discuss
have
that.
some big contracts coming up this summer, so we can employ have the lawyer look at it and, have that peace of mind. So like,
And then we should, as Raymond said, at least ask these guys, hey, can you cut us a break? 28% seems way above the so-called 8.8%. And whatever we can, just so that they know that we are reading the contract and we are pushing back, right? So that they can push us around.
Have you had that, you've had that discussion? Or you haven't had that?
we've not had an additional discussion. We have.
You might want to have an additional
We
discussion.
have the.
Yeah, but then I guess we could, if you guys are comfortable, we can take a vote and, we'll approve it, even if you don't get a discount. Right, but then really, based on the commitment that you guys will look at what our exposure is, and let's fix the contracts that we feel we don't have enough for.
Yeah,
So
okay,
then I would amend my motion to say, I'd make a motion to approve. This amount, up to this amount. But the staff is gonna go circle back to
It
the.
wouldn't be amending that motion to approve it. You could, you've now given us. The directive to do that, so it wouldn't change the motion.
Okay.
Because you're still making just a motion to approve this.
Great.
contract.
Do we have a contract, where like a database? That could spit out reports and do anything like that?
we have Sage.
If, say, I mean, it wouldn't spit out, the terms and all of that, however, we have to.
Someday, so we will need like some legal person to say these contracts.
Does
are
it
not in
auto
our best
renew?
interest.
When does it
Yeah,
renew? What
these are
month
not
does
in our
it
best
renew?
interest. We don't have any cover over this contract, and that's what I'm worried. It's not the $30,000 that we're gonna save
It's
by
the big
renegotiating with these guys. It's like, what other contracts do we have where we are sort of.
Right.
there in the
We have exposure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You got the approval. Item number C, approve revised year 0 budget for Oxford Separate Academy Middle School. A multi-year budget and cash flow projection for year 0 to year 3, 2020 to 2023 through 2025, 2026. Was submitted and approved with the charter petition to Salvat Valley Unified School District. On June 23rd, 2022, and the appeal petition for the Orange County Board of Education, October 27, 2020. This budget that Palomino shared is a revised multi-year budget and year 0 cash flow to incorporate the actual and projected expenses in year zero, as well as updated revenue rate information. This will have a budget of financial impact, as this formula showed us, 125,831. Second, the board of directors approve action item C. I'll make a motion. Any second?
Okay.
Yes, you. Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number D, approve intra-school site loan for OPA SOC to Oxford Preparatory Academy Middle School. In order to provide temporary funding for the new middle school, OPA, South Orange County will lend $595,794.64. From its unrestricted investment account balance as of March 31, 2023. The funds will be returned to the account over a 3-year period beginning FY 2024. 2024, is that 2023?
Fiscal.
Yes, so 24, 25, 24, 25, right, 24, 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what your projection should do, with board approval. And budget financial impact, 594,794.64, which will come out of our unrestricted investment account, which I think for SOC is like 4 or 5 million. Something like that, right?
Unrestricted, no.
Okay.
We have the unrestricted investment account of $915,000 split in these numbers.
So we're emptying out that entire account.
And emptying out just our unrestricted
Got it.
investment account, the
So,
other
excellent.
reserves, a lot of those
Remain.
are restricted.
Makes
That,
sense.
we can't just.
My apologies for that. My bad. Second, the board of directors approve action items D. May I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Member Malone. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna try to guess that.
Those-
Put a name down. You're all, it's good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we'll do the same thing for the OPA Saddleback Valley campus. In order to provide temporary funding for the new middle school, OPA Saddleback Valley will lend $303,278.69 from the unrestricted investment account balance as of March 31, 2023. The funds will be returned to the account over a 3-year period beginning FY 2024-25 with board approval. Budget of financial impact 320,278.6. And second, the board of directors approve action item E. May I have a motion?
I make motion to approve action.
A second. I do have one, I have a clarification, Dr. Bennett. So if we are emptying out all of our unrestricted investment account, and how will we cover the negative balance from SP for this year? Can that come out of the,
Come out of
of the other? fund?
regular SD, this is the only money. When I was talking about that gray area of lending from one school to the other, this money, because it came. Not through LCFS or other restricted
So you
revenue.
can use
Yeah,
it for
so
academics.
We can use
Other,
this, but for anything else that has
For the
to do
school,
with
okay.
Saddleback Valley students,
Okay.
staff, anything like that, we can use the other.
I just want to make sure we have that push.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
That's where.
Any other
really
questions?
So the interest that we would have made in those accounts are not being paid back either.
So the
Yes.
interest that we are making, so when we looked actually at the interest, we're making more money off of the interest in our cash in county account, quite a significant amount more. So this money, when it's paid back, we're going to actually put it in a different account so that it makes more interest. But no, we will not continue to make the interest that we would have made off of it by taking it out of that account. But we're going to take it out of that account and move it into a different account and move it.
The board will be involved.
I just for kicks, I'd like to know how much that could have been.
Okay.
Just so we can weep about how little it is.
I mean, yeah,
It's not-
and
it
but
wasn't
it's a good thing for us to know.
Yeah.
And then, and if it's significant, then we probably need to revisit interest.
Yeah, and I think we were actually talking about how it was not a very high yield.
It wasn't a good.
Yeah, I mean,
Account.
it's not trillions of dollars or million, but I just was curious.
But yeah, we can look that up for you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so item number F, approve updated job description for speech and language pathologist in order to more accurately reflect job duties and credential requirements. This job description has been updated. LCAP goal action. Goal number 2, action number 1. Second, the board of directors approve action item F. I have a motion.
Make a motion.
Thank you, member Arthur. I'll second it. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so item number 11. committee discussion. I don't think we've had much activity on this, so should we skip this?
I just left it as a standing,
Yeah.
a standing item. I think we have an academic outcomes committee meeting on Friday. And so we'll have more to report out on those committees, at an upcoming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have a strategy?
We will plan that in conjunction with the photo.
Okay.
We haven't said that. Yeah, it was, that's the original one. That's
That was the original.
Yeah.
one.
David's got to
David, okay, I'm gonna do that.
Take that one. Yes. Okay, you have time. Give you time.
Item number 12, Dr. Kenen, your report.
So, and just, kind of gonna reiterate a little bit about what Connor said. We have had some really great recent field trips, with the Irvine Ranch, fifth grade field trip, as well as our Washington DC trip. We have a ton of really great activities going on at our school site. Including museum walkthroughs. Our students really get to participate in so many unique activities here at OPA. And I think it really does provide just a much more rich educational experience for our students here. Not just doing classwork, but really getting to do those almost in-school field trips with the walkthroughs of the living museum, and also getting to do those, outside of school field trips. So I want to make sure that we're continuing to be able to do those, and then moving in the middle school. I know John's already working on scheduling, because the earlier you schedule, the less full Catalina is when you go. So getting those field trips scheduled early so that we can continue all of those same experiences on with the new middle school. I also want to really congratulate all of our champions who received their trimester awards. It was a great event at both of our campuses, as well as our amazing mascot essay contest winners. They really did do some incredible work and essays for that contest. That was not part of a class grade or anything like that. They did it because they really felt passionate about it, and you could really feel that passion in reading their essays. We are, kind of gearing up for testing now. I know our site admin and Ms. Woodruff and Ms. and Dr. Henry have been doing, making sure that we have our testing schedules and training staff. And it's amazing that we're so close to the end of the year that we're actually already thinking about testing, because we are one of the last schools around to test. Because since we're smaller and we can kind of really adapt our schedules, we're able to push testing back until the very end of the year and make sure that our students are as prepared as they can be when they take those state tests. So that's kind of a great opportunity for us that a lot of other districts, larger districts, don't have. I know, we're gearing up for end of year activities, and upcoming on this Thursday, we're going to have our OPA lottery. It is televised on Zoom. We do it every year. It's not very exciting. I will let everyone in the public know in case they're thinking it's going to be some big event, but to push the button last year, I think we had like 300 people show up to watch the lottery on Zoom. So it is a well-attended event, and it is pretty cool because when they're on there, they get to see when the button pushed, and then they can actually go into their portal and start receiving that information of where their student is placed. We've had over 3,000 applications, so it will be interesting to see how many people, come join our lottery Zoom, and it's very exciting to be able to be welcoming so many more families this year. Especially because we had so many more OPA applicants this year. It's a good year to be able to have those additional spots for our families. So the end of the year is going to be here before we know it, and just excited for an amazing last home stretch, third trimester here again.
I love to hear you talk about field trips. One thing that, I know I've asked before, that I'm gonna ask again. And I'm gonna give it as a directive, is I want to see a field trip policy. I think as an organization, by not having it, we're not making it very clear about what field trips we are allowing, what's the criteria around it. And I've gone out there and I've looked, and a lot of other organizations have it. Especially charter schools. And to me, I think it needs to be clear on, what grades we're picking to do the big trips, which ones are we wanting donations for? I understand the ed code law that we're required to provide it for all kids for field trips. But I think we need to have a policy in place as an organization on how are we picking field trips and what are we funding and what are we not funding for them? And that needs to be done before we approve our budgets for the year.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to the director's report. Thank you, Dr. Knapp, really appreciate it. We go to the director's report, Ms. Jackson.
Well, it's an exciting time for sure. I was able to attend the awards ceremony. It was super fun. It was super fun. When you see first graders and second graders and champ awards, it is the electricity to stand up there and wiggle when you got your champ award is really fun. If you haven't done that recently, be sure you do. It's worth it. Which brings me back to all these concurrent endeavors that are happening. Middle school's happening. We're winding the year up. All these things are moving, and it's really great to see the orchestra function. Did a great seat. This is a great seat to watch it happen. Really appreciate everybody's effort. Love my board mates. Love that we're willing to challenge each other's thinking. It's a really great place to be, and it feels good. Feels good to be in the company of people who aren't just going to do something because everyone else is doing it. It feels good to be part of a team that is really vigorous and challenging people, each other about in a healthy way, right? I really appreciate that.
I have a few things. I just want to thank the ambassadors and all the effort that it takes to become an ambassador. I mean, I appreciate that we recognize them and that we're doing this. So I appreciate that. Connor Matthews for doing this presentation. Love seeing the majors. I'm glad to see that it's an old OPA tradition, and I love seeing it happening, including Living Museum. It's just one of my favorite things. And that's a really, really old OPA tradition. So I'm really happy with that. And as is the field trips. I mean, we've been wanting field trips. It makes us special, and I want to continue to, even with any issues that we have, I hope we never lose that. It's not worth it to lose it, even with the little hiccups. And the civic learning, I'm super excited about the percentages we have there. And then we have another, and I believe it goes with civic learning, is the tree planting that we're doing with Mission Viejo City Saturday in SOC. So I love that we're and I love that we're giving our kids opportunities to be part of the wider world. So, and that's it. Thank you for all your work.
Wow, that was really good.
Follow that.
I know, seriously, that was like a mic drop. I am very excited to kind of see the year kind of wrap up. I will say I was here almost all day yesterday doing several word presentations, and it is very cool to see how that tradition continues to carry on, and all the hard work that's going on. There are so many different initiatives, to Raymond's point, that are going on right now, and it is not easy to undertake wrapping up the school year and plan the new middle school and get everything set up for next year. So it is not unnoticed, and I appreciate all your guys' hard work. I really do. And to all of our teachers and our stakeholders and all the work that they're doing to make this a great community.
Thank you, Member Chavez. Ditto to everything. I do want to call out the three of you guys. I mean, I know it's been a really rough few weeks kind of planning the middle school, closing the trimester, and handling several board meetings that you've had with us. Most of you guys who are listening don't see the amount of work that goes into all these board discussions we have. We're sort of trying to fly a plane while they're building another one, right? Which is also flying. So I want to specifically acknowledge the three of you guys. I know it's not easy, and know that we are, we want to support you guys. And thank you for your patience as we have all of these questions that, maybe coming from a different angle because we're not in education. Right? So I want to acknowledge that in front of everybody that the three of you guys specifically have a tough job right now. And we sort of anticipated that it's going to be tough to sort of build a middle school while also trying to manage, but you guys haven't missed a beat in the current school. All the awards you're getting, all the different innovations. So keep that up and let us know how we can help. I want to thank my board mates. We've had multiple hours of board meetings above and beyond what we should have planned, but we did. And there's more board meetings to be had. I know there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to do the vetting and gain the support for our executive team. So I really do appreciate all the time that you are already invested, and thank you in advance for all the time you're going to have to invest. That's it. We go to the lights. Member Travis's favorites.
You have one.
Oh, I do have. This is my
Yes.
favorite item. Item number 14, community input on non-agenda items. The public may comment on items not listed on the agenda that are within the legal purview of the board of directors. Public comments, including email comments, will be limited to 3 minutes per comment with up to 20 minutes of public. Do we have?
We do have one public comment for non-agendized items, and that is Sutherland, and I think Jonathan, if you want to unmute her, then Ms. Sutherland, you have 3 minutes for public comment.
Am I live?
Yes,
You
you
are.
Oh, fabulous. I just want to thank you all for the effort and the time that you put into having these meetings, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I also want to thank my son's teachers that were here, Mrs. Ream, Mr. Chandler, Miss Barella, Miss Corzine. They've all been super supportive in my son's academic tenure at OPA. He's the 3rd generation of OPA students. We are kind of the original launch pad. My oldest daughter, Emily, was the first 8th grade class to graduate. Then come my second daughter, Helena, she graduated. So this isn't my first rodeo when it comes to OPA, which is why I want to bring to the attention some recent light of what Mr. Wright and Mr. Bridges launched today with regards to a broad reaching behavioral contract that he sent out to every single 8th grade student today. And on page 14 of the parent handbook, it states the school initiates behavior contracts when a pattern of disruptive behavior has been established. And in an email correspondence, they disputed and derailed that initiative in the parent handbook. And you guys spoke at length about the budget and at length about being in arrears. And I have to let you know that that's because you are overweighted in your employees. Obviously, you have 3 or 4 at this point, middle school deans, professors, chancellors, whatever you guys want to call them right now, and it's obvious to everyone that has participated in this that you are overweighted. And as a taxpayer and a small business owner, it's obvious that any kind of new business venture, business until 3 years until you see any kind of growth marker, and you're not making reparations, you're not making preparations for that kind of business loss. So I would just call to the attention of who you're employing and their motives on what they're doing to lay the foundation of how to okay, never mind. My 3 minutes are up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Are there any other comments?
There are none.
Okay. Thanks for everyone who stayed through the board meeting. It's the several of you guys, appreciate it. We'll go to the last item on the agenda. Agenda's recommend the board of directors adjourn the regular meeting of the Oxford Federal Academy Board of Directors on April 18, 2023. May I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Member Chan. One second it, you have a. All
You
those
could
in
have
fa-
seconded
Did you second it? Oh, okay, this member Jackson seconded.
He was so quiet. I thought he didn't want it to end.
Yeah. He wants to go to LAX directly.
Yeah, he wants to. Yeah, we know.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the meeting was adjourned at 9:39. Thanks, everyone, for staying.
Thank you.
Thank you.